Yes, meditation can help in anxiety. Remember, meditation is like medicine. Medicine is a means to a cure, it is not an end in itself. So what meditation works? This is not the norm for meditation, as it is specifically about anxiety and feelings we tend to want to run away from. So I think it's helpful to write it out specifically, thus it takes a little while to explain. If you have no desire to read it, I totally understand. Winking face. First, is it safe for you? Don't ignore this question. I will note that this is what worked for me and that it is not for everyone, it is likely not safe for everyone. Know your boundaries, and if in doubt, consult a professional to work with you one-to-one. I've also shared it with others, some of whom ran with it. Having said that, I found the result has been that the world in which I live has changed. So you could say that the traumas and anxieties are gone, but in experience I just feel like my normal self, sans these aspects, while the change feels like the world around me has been transformed to one that feels safer, friendlier, and in general a lot more fun, plus a ton more of my thinking has been freed from anxiety to focus on what it would appear I'm interested in. Let's be clear, most meditation doesn't target anxiety. You might infer any long-term meditator to be less anxious than they were when they started, but per the question, some still struggle with anxiety after years of meditation. You may come to accept your struggles with anxiety, but then there is the embrace and extinguishment of anxiety. This instruction is for the latter. So what is this meditation technique? If you want to place it, perhaps think of inserting CBT into mindfulness meditation by using exposures to anxiety, fear, anger, or any strong emotion as a guide for one's attention toward thought. If you're familiar with memory consolidation, then those associations will also be obvious. Someone I taught this to a while back summed it up this way. Here's some advantages to it. It targets anxiety. It employs exposure in order to extinguish fear. The technique generalizes to every fear. It is mindfulness. So it assumes the neurological benefits that any meditative practice holds. It is the absolute opposite of avoidance safety behavior. Unlike using cognitive tricks or mindfulness to mitigate fear during exposure, you are exposed to fear itself. Let's get to it then. One key thing worth pointing out is that generally speaking, when we feel fear or anxiety, we tend to try to avoid what it is we think is causing it. Why? Because when we go closer, there can be a spiral of escalating thoughts, sensations of anxiety. Even if we deal with the apparent cause of our anxiety, it is often to as quickly as possible address the cause and move on. I'd offer this also a form of avoidance to end the anxiety as quickly as possible. This is pretty common sense. So what do we do? Using largely plain descriptive language here to support a repeatable practice, what I would do literally, is do a reverse of avoiding the spiral of escalating thoughts, sensations of anxiety, noted above. I head straight for the spiral. If you remember the hotter, colder game we played as children, as variant of concentration practice, play hotter colder with the escalating sensations. Essentially, as you keep working towards the spiral, you are getting hotter, and there are signs that will let you know you are getting to the right place first. The radio player, or narrative voice of the mind, will let you know by escalating thoughts. For me, a deeper sign, the heart will palpitate with an atrial fibrillation. For me, a even deeper sign is a slight to moderate convulsive movement in the gut. In particular, I note these signs as progress towards hotter, because the mind may be yelling and possibly screaming at you to stop. That is a good sign you're going in precisely the right direction, i.e. your attention and concentration are fixed on sensations and thoughts that are hotter. Keep your concentration focused, and when one asterisk sensation and or thought pair asterisk begin to hit upon an even hotter sensation or thought pair, allow attention to go to the hotter one. In other words, allow attention to make a gentle switch to trade up. Smiley face. Existing insight, seeing through thought content to context, in this can be helpful, for obvious reasons, but isn't necessary. I'll also note this can lead to insight. If you have good insight practice already, but seeing through content it isn't yet an instant reflex, then use your practice to bring yourself to context first. Then allow yourself to get lost in the content of the thoughts. Yes, that's right. You have to let go and allow yourself to become what you behold. Context becomes content again. If being context is a reflex, no worries as it'll copilot of its own accord. If being context insight to see through content isn't in the repertoire, no worries. Essentially by simply holding attention towards the energetic center, the pocket of your consciousness that's giving you the anxiety can come to the surface, given enough time and concentration in the hottest spot, found in the hotter colder game. And simply by holding concentration long enough, the center aka spiral, as you said, will flicker and fade like a candle at the end of its wick. With that fading, don't stop. Keep concentration for a while, at least minutes, into the quiet. Content is silently dropping, attachment withering, leaving only context even if you can't see this for a while.